Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome, welcome. I'm Natalie, spiritual life coach and Reiki master teacher, and glad as always to be here with you today, where we are going to talk about what if it's not too late to create the life you really want. Hello. I don't know really how to say your name. Peta Brooke, welcome. As people begin to join in, let's go ahead and just take a breath or two together. Arrive. Here in this beautiful sacred space. Just drop into the body. If you're in a place where you can have your hands free and just relax. Letting your arms rest, your body relax. Just feeling the weight of the body as gravity pulls and anchors it to the earth. Hi, good evening, Karen. Welcome. As we just give a few minutes to let people join in, settle in together. Welcome, Rosella from Italy. Wonderful. Some people joining in from Europe in the evening time. Glad to have all of you, wherever you are in the world. If you care to bring your name and your voice into the room, you can do so here in the chat, or even just give an emoji. And of course, no expectation, nothing's necessary. So let's just arrive together. Exhale all of the energy, all of the efforting that it's taken to arrive here now, no matter what time of day it is for you. Just letting it all go. And breathing in new energy, this present moment. Feeling that beautiful possibility. Freshness, fresh air into the lungs. Welcome, Blake from Canada and from Scotland. And I'm Natalie. I am in Mexico. That is where life has brought me. It's taken 49 years and 11 months and a handful of days for me to arrive here with you. And you can think the same for yourself as well. It can be really profound to drop into the moment and consider, like, wow, everything that's had to happen for us to be sharing this moment together right now. Every moment of your life experience, every choice you've made or not made has led us to be sharing this space. And that's how every moment is. That's life. And yet when we live on autopilot, which we do, and that's normal and common and okay, we forget the profundity, the mystery, the magic of life. As Alan Watts says, we are the Big Bang still banging. I love that quote. Welcome, Lauren, Montana. Beautiful place. So today our live stream, as I said, is about what if it's not too late for you? What if it's not too late to create the life that you truly want for yourself, the life that your soul has been calling you towards? Maybe it's a deep inner nudge that's a whisper, or maybe that whisper has evolved into a scream, and your soul is trying to not only get your attention, but encourage you to take action. Who all can relate to that? So if you've ever looked at your life, if you've ever thought, maybe you're regretting something, maybe you think you missed your chance, maybe an opportunity didn't work out for you in the past, could be in any area of life. Maybe it was a dream, a vision, a soul purpose vision, a relationship, career. Could be anything. Peta Brooke. Hi, Patrizia. Welcome, welcome. So we have a fellow Insight Timer teacher here with us. So always honored when other teachers take part. So if you care to follow Patricia Pisano, an Insight Timer, you can do so. And of course, if you care to follow me, if you don't already, you can. I'll actually go ahead and put up my follow link that helps me to grow on Insight Timer. And as many of you know, I just celebrated 5 years as a teacher here on Insight Timer. What a beautiful, wonderful space it is. So yeah, we will continue to allow this space to unfold and dive deeper. And I do want to share, I have a couple upcoming live streams. So if you care to, if this is interesting, you can go ahead and RSVP and follow if you don't. But we'll be doing a special Mother's Day live. Well, and it's American US Mother's Day, May 10th. 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Mother's Day without the ideal mother. So for those of you who have had a complicated relationship with mother, whatever that role is for you or has been in your life, or maybe maybe there's estrangement or just any sort of dynamic where it's not sunshine and rainbows, this live stream will be for you. We'll just have a space to be together and learn to mother ourselves and work with that mother wound and honor the energy of Mother's Day. So please RSVP to that. Hi, Alicia, welcome. As well as on May 13th, which I think is a week from now, we will be doing our powerful collective card reading in Reiki and Ancestral Clearing. So you can go ahead and join in if that's calling to you. So, dropping back into what we're doing here today, I want you all to just consider, if you just drop in, allow your mind to kind of wander, scan your life up until now. And is there anywhere where you've thought maybe you missed your chance? Maybe it's too late to change, to do something, or maybe it's too late to stop doing something if you feel really stuck. So we're going to be looking into that. We want to look at what's here that's ready to have the light of awareness shown on it. And I invite you just to trust your intuition and trust where your gut is awakening you to, where there's a nudge or maybe where there's a scream. Welcome, Andrina. New Zealand. Wow, amazing. Love it. So if there's something that's coming up for you specifically that you'd like to share, or maybe a question you want to ask, you can do so in the chat, of course. And, you know, the example I want to bring in first, which is near and dear to my heart, is, you know, my own journey with my career, which I do talk about often because it was such a trajectory point and such a period of transformation and fear and stuckness and soul screaming and feeling like it was too late, feeling like I was stuck, feeling like there was no way out, feeling like there was no other possibility for me, and just feeling resigned to my choices. So how many of you can relate to that? Is there an area of your life right now where you feel you are just in resignation, like this is how it is, and it's too late, I've given up, you know, it's too blank, it's too difficult, I'm too old, I'm too poor, I'm too broken, I'm too sick? Any of those stories, if those are here, that is your illumination point as to what this is your soul is wanting to show you right now. Andrina, feeling very stuck. Peta, Brooke, a little. Karen, what does CSC mean? Scratch, that's what I was gonna guess. Yeah, to start feeling like starting from scratch. And if you've heard me talk about this story before, I invite you to listen as if it's the first time you've ever heard it and you're on the edge of your seat. And if it is the first time, then you get to be open and take it in. But 6 years ago, I was dying in my job, like on a soul level. I had a corporate job. I loved the freedom and flexibility because I did work remotely anywhere in the world that I chose to live. And so that was, you know, the thing that kept me there for almost 13 years. I was remote for almost 9. And, you know, I was stuck in my comfort zone. But it reminds me of, and how many of you can relate to this, of like, you say there's an animal, a puppy. You get a puppy and you have a puppy cage. Well, the puppy grows, the cage does not. And then, of course, if you're a good puppy parent, you would buy a bigger cage. But there, you know, if you don't, eventually the puppy is going to be too big for the cage. It's going to want to grow out of it. But it gets to be very small. It gets to be very stifling. You can't move. You can't breathe. You're stuck. And so this is the same thing that happens with us in our lives. So what is your cage? What is your cage that you're growing out of, and the cage is too damn small? And it's not comfortable. It used to be comfortable when you were smaller and you had room to move around. But as time goes on, you know, and of course this is an analogy, you know, for me, you know, I left the US in 2013 and worked remote, and the first few years, it was very exhilarating and amazing, and the cage felt roomy, and not that it was without challenges, but then eventually that I started outgrowing that cage. I became very dissatisfied with the work environment. It was toxic, it was dysfunctional, the business wasn't run well, whatever, all of those things. And yet, my mind kept me in that cage, even though there was no lock. Nobody was keeping me inside of it except my own mind and my own thinking. My thinking, my limited mindset told me, you're never going to be able to get another job this good with your qualifications, of which I have none. To have the freedom that I had, to get the pay that I had, American employee, benefits, days off, sick days, blah, blah, blah. You're never going to be able to find all this. That was my story. And that mindset kept me in that cage. And I felt there was no way out. And so I was in this place of resignation and fear, to where I just was like, well, this is it. I'm hanging on to the bars of this cage until somebody damn pries my dead hands off the cage. That's where I was. So who all can relate to this in whatever way that is for you? It might be a relationship you're doing the same thing with. It might be where you live. Are you clinging to living somewhere? It might be a certain house or town, country, whatever. It's like, you're going to pry this out of my cold, dead hands sort of energy. Even though there's something inside that's telling you, get the fuck out. Right? Welcome, Jacqueline. So, you can relate to this in any way that your soul is nudging you about. It might be fear, You're afraid to take action. You're afraid of what will change when you do so. Yeah. So those are some different ways that this dynamic can show up. And it's about settling. Where are you settling in your life? What are you tolerating? Because it's easier. It's easier to stay in the cage. You know the cage. You know everything about it. You know how the bars feel. You know how the floor feels. You know how the light comes in. You're stuck. And on the outside, you can see light. You can see possibility. And yet, what are the bars of the cage for you? And I'm going to give you a hint, it's always about your thinking. Number one. Hi, Jason. Great to see you. Yes, exactly, Jacqueline. We know our pile of shit that we're comfortable in. And I was in that job situation. And so I just lived a life of, it was a beautiful life in the fact that I could travel and have the freedom, and the cost of staying in that dynamic, the cost was rising and rising and rising. Meaning, it got to a point every time I log into work, there would just be this soul energy, soul crushing energy, huge resistance. And yet, feeling like there was no other option and that it was too late. I've made my bed, I've got to lie in it, and I'm going to lie in it and stay in this cage until somebody damn pries me out. So, I thought that was going to be it for me, and that I was just going to make do and get by until who knows when. And then, so if you can relate to this, it's like one of two things happens. You continue in that, and that's it. Well, one of three things. You continue and you die. Very simply. You continue until something in you, your soul, is like, no more. I am going to initiate change. I am going to open the door to the cage myself. I am going to take that action, because being in that cage hurts more than me having to do something uncomfortable and scary and new and different by getting out of the cage. So it's either that, it's going to come from within you, or it's going to come from an external. Something outside of you will make the decision for you, some sort of circumstance. And again, this could be anything. So in my case, those of you that have heard my story, it was not my doing that got me out of that job. It was the company basically changing up my cage. And it was super scary and uncomfortable and very relieving. So where are you white knuckling in your life? What are you white knuckling and holding onto so damn tightly? What are your energetic hands or your physical hands gripping? Because you're holding on to this idea that it's too late. I've got to cling to what I have because it's too late for me. So this is the work that I do in my coaching, in my life coaching, and some of you have experienced it. And if this is resonating, resonating with you, reach out. I can offer you my powerful visioning process as a gift. Andrina, thank you for sharing this. Yeah. When we are on this journey and when we awaken, it can be a very difficult and scary process, because it means we have to confront things that are difficult and uncomfortable and that have likely affected other people. Yeah. And, I always say this, like when I'm coaching with people, my job is to stand in possibility for you. My job is to be the light of possibility. So if it does feel like it's too late, I'm here to put a stake in the ground and declare it is not. It is never too late. Even with people that have passed on, because in my belief, we're multidimensional and we're timeless. So there is literally, nothing that's impossible. And Andrina, thank you for voicing this and sharing your vulnerability, because when we do this excavating, when we do this deep healing and transformation work, we also get to look at ourselves, and sometimes what we find is confronting. And yeah, we might notice selfishness, all of the things that, we have regrets for, and of course, and that totally makes sense. Wonderful, Jacqueline. Yes. So, yeah, it's a favorite quote of mine that I did not make up, but pain pushes and vision pulls. So you get to choose. Do you want to wait until you're in enough pain for that pain to push you into change? Or are you going to be in the space of initiation and empowerment and being like, I am going to choose to follow my vision. My vision is so compelling. My soul is just magnetizing toward this possibility and freedom and dreams and goals and vision, that is going to magnetize me forward. That's much more comfortable, and however it happens, right? And it might be a mix of both. So if there's people here right now, or if you're listening in YouTube, I'm also double live streaming this in my YouTube channel, so make sure you follow me over there if you don't, and all my live replays are there as well. When we see things about ourselves, when we start seeing with new eyes, it can, as I said, be very confronting. And this is the place where we must, and I don't use that word often or lightly, we must learn to apply self-compassion. We must. If you're on this spiritual journey, which you are, if you're in this app and you're listening to me right now, we've got to let it be okay. Our actions from the past, we've got to forgive ourselves and bring that medicine of self-compassion. We've got to fall in love with the version of ourselves from the past that was doing the best they could with what they had. And I believe that we all are operating from our best level of thinking in the moment, and our actions are echoes of that. So I invite you to share in the chat specifically, where have you decided it's too late? Where has your soul or your mind or your spirit pointed you toward and illuminated that idea within you? Where are you settling, and what are you tolerating? Where are you living in quiet desperation or resignation? And I want to invite you into the idea that if you found this live stream, or if you found this replay, that there is, as I said in the beginning, every moment of our lives has led us to all be here sharing this space right now. So there's a message for you here. So, this is a synchronous point. This is a synchronous moment. And you know what it is for you. There's many people here. It's going to be different for everyone. But what is the dream? What's the desire? What's the possibility that's tugging at you? And just notice that. Allow your intuition to illuminate that. And Andrina, your quote, silly head is tolerating it. It makes sense. As I was saying a few minutes ago, like this cage analogy, the cage is familiar. We know it, and we know our own cages better than anyone. So our sense of identity gets tied up in that. And so, the ego has a vested interest in keeping us stuck and safe in the cage because it's safe, familiar, comfortable, and known. The ego just wants to survive and wants us to survive. So if you did know, like, it wasn't too late to create the life you want and to create the results you want, what is the first thing you do? Just let it come naturally. Don't censor it. If you knew that it wasn't too late, what's the first thing you'd do? And let that land. We all have a too late story. And when we name it and we bring it into form, it loses its grip and its power. And yeah, definitely our thoughts, our mental health, definitely influences our thoughts and behaviors and actions and habits. And, there's always room to grow. And there's always hope. And there's always possibility for change. Totally, Jacqueline. We must practice self-love and self-compassion. We cannot shame our way into change. How many of you have been trying to shame yourself into change? How long have you been doing it? And how well has that worked for you? We've got to learn to be on our own team and be on our own side. And it can be very difficult, especially if we're acting out of integrity, if we're acting out of our values, if we're stuck, if we're trapped in the cage, if we're telling ourselves it's too late and we're still there, and then the pressure builds, the judgment builds. So again, the medicine of compassion is required here. And yeah, that's what happens when we, I talk about this quote often, top 5 regrets of the dying. Number 1, I wish I would have lived a life true to me rather than a life other people thought I should live. So that can be a very clarifying idea. Where are you living a life that other people are expecting you to live? Where are you living for everyone else and not for yourself? How many of you's calendar is not your own? How many of you's schedule is not your own? These are the things and these are the ways that we settle, that we conform, that we go into this resignation energy. It's too late, so I might as well just give up and go along. And again, it's not about blaming or shaming, it's just about noticing. The first step to any change is awareness. So if we think about the idea of like it being, quote, too late, it's never too late. That again is a limited ego idea. The soul is infinite. This journey never ends. This journey of self-discovery, evolution, expansion of who we are, it never ends. So any sort of time pressure or timeline idea is of 3 dimensions and is of the mind. And again, y'all that know me know I'm going to validate the shit out of you. Meaning, it makes sense if you're in the cage. And if you've gotten yourself in there and that you don't want to leave, or a part of you doesn't want to leave. It's self-protection, right? As I said, it's familiar. If you resign yourself, it's just too late, I'm just going to go along and conform, it's easier, then you're not taking any risk and you're saving yourself from disappointment and possible, quote, failure, although I don't believe in that. But you're also closing yourself off from possibility. Yeah, Jacqueline, not turning out well to try and shame yourself into change. And that's our default. That's our, 99% of humans' default. So, and yes, give from our overflow. For sure. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And, our cup doesn't have to be 100% totally overflowing every minute for us to give. That's one of the traps that the ego comes up with is, well, I can't do it because I'm not ready, because I don't know enough, because I'm not evolved enough, because I haven't created this yet in my own life. And my answer to all those is no. Doesn't matter. And especially if you've identified yourself as an achiever, as having accomplished many things in your life, and maybe you haven't, so then you feel it's too late. If you've been achievement-based in your worth, proving your worth based on that, it could be then maybe, for me, like, retiring from my corporate job. That was an identity for almost 13 years. And I definitely could have seen it as failure. But it was the end of that was the beginning of the rest of my life. So I also want to invite you to not let your mind think about, oh, this is an end, it's over, the ship has sailed. Every end is a beginning. So I want you to give an emoji in the chat or a word of what's coming up for you, what ahas that you're having. And I want to invite you to just, instead of being in that judgment or resistance energy about it, even just energetically, like relaxing around it, turning towards that, whatever this is for you. Because we get to invite all the parts in of ourselves that we've pushed away, that we've judged, that we've blamed, because it can be very easy to turn on ourselves and judge ourselves. So this is the medicine that we can apply of awareness, compassion. Yeah. Karen, the inner critic. Andrina, embarrassment, feeling alone, of course. So I have a resource that I've created called The End of Self-Gaslighting. So if you want a copy of it, send me a message. And for me, this is the beginning of shifting our relationship with ourselves out of this shame, blame, failure, not good enough, it's too late. We naturally just want to try and shame ourselves so that it'll motivate us to change. And as I said, that doesn't work very well. So we want to kind of shake up the old system by validating ourselves in our experience. And you can do this by telling yourself, it makes sense that I feel this way. It makes sense that I feel stuck. It makes sense I've stayed in the cage, whatever it is for you, if it's a job, a relationship, a home, a country, a friendship, a family dynamic, whatever. It makes sense. It's totally understandable. So that to me is the most powerful medicine, and it's a way that we can start opening and allowing this tension to have space. Wonderful, Jason. And Andrina, thank you. Thank you for sharing your process, for being vulnerable. And yeah, that medicine is so powerful, because what happens is, it's like we all know, love ourselves, self-compassion, forgiveness, but it's concepts. These don't go into our heart space. It's just like a talking head that doesn't go anywhere when we just say these things and give lip service, even though it's with good intention and we're trying to have it land down here. For me, just this simple self-validation does the trick every time. And I usually will put my hand on my heart and I'll call myself sweetie and just say, sweetie, it makes sense you feel this way. Of course you're upset. Of course you're sad. And I'll say, tell me all about it, sweetie. Tell me all about it. So that's the wounded child part that's underneath all this, that's wounded, and that we can now open to and have compassion for and start healing. And that wounded child was not allowed a voice, was not allowed to have feelings. So it's just natural for those of us that had those dynamics, which most of us have, of like, can't feel, push it down, push through, stay in my cage, it's too late, let me just make it through the days, there's nothing more for me. And then underneath there's this shame and resignation and dis-ease, and maybe it's manifested as physical dis-ease. Lauren, courage. This all does take courage, profound courage. And so it's not that we don't take the action. It's not that we don't get out of the cage. It's that we don't do it from a place of shaming and must and have to and forcing and pick yourself up by your bootstraps and, wipe that tears off your face. Like, that's the conditioning from toxic caregivers and generations and all of that. It's like, no, sweetie, tell me all about it. It makes sense. It makes sense that you're here right now, that you feel the way you feel, that you are where you are, given everything you've been through, everything that's happened. Of course, you feel this way. Tell me all about it. I'm here for as long as you want to share. And you just slow down with yourself and you allow that medicine to let that pressure cooker and that pushing down, just let it open a little. And let that light of compassion and love and awareness come in. And then, yes, then you can take the action, but it's going to be from a different energy. And most all of us have ancestral, generational traumas. I mean, the way humans have evolved and survived, it's just been a part of how we have evolved and survived until now. And we're the cycle breakers. We are breaking the cycles. And so it's not easy. So I acknowledge all of you for doing this deep and brave work. And it's not too late. It's never too late. So what's something you realize you haven't been letting yourself want? Is there something that you're just like not even allowing yourself to have a possibility of because you feel it's too late or whatever story. Because that's the thing that your soul is moving you towards. Beautiful. It's totally normal and understandable, and of course we all want love. I mean, that's what makes the world go round, and we all deserve it. We are all worthy and deserving of love because we exist, period. I've been going through my own deep journey right now. It's been very messy and flawed and difficult and challenging. And I've had to really work with this medicine myself of like, I am worthy of love simply because I exist. Period. It has nothing to do with performance or doing or measuring up. It's only about who I am because I exist. I am worthy and deserving of love. And that has to drop through all these ego layers, because the ego will be like, nope, because of this, that, no, what about this? No. We get to let that drop in again into an experience, in a deep knowing at a soul level that we are worthy and deserving because we exist. So let's breathe. Take a breath into that. Hi, Laura. So even if you felt stuck in the cage for, quote, a long time, who knows? There is no timeline here. Life in our soul keeps nudging us forward. We just have to be willing to listen and take one simple step. So I invite you to think about what has uncovered for you right now, what's been illuminated in our session today, what you've discovered, and then, okay, given that, what's a tiny action that you can take? It doesn't mean a big declaration. I say this all the time. Just one tiny action. The smallest, smallest unit of action. If it's something about doing research online, the smallest unit of action would be to pick up the phone. So that's what I'm talking about. Break it down very small. And if this has resonated with you and you feel the heart's call to reach out, as I said, I offer my visioning process. We will look at what your cage is. We will look at where you feel stuck and the mechanics around that, the beliefs and the thoughts that are in the way, and then what your bigger vision is and steps to take to get there. And this can be a powerful step to help you take that action and to release some of the shame and the suffering, and to have hope and empowerment and freedom and peace and move towards all of those things and love. So it's a gift I offer to members of the Insight Timer community if you've never had a one-on-one with me before. Send me a message. You can do that here through Insight Timer. I'm on all the socials. As I said, YouTube, all of that stuff. So I also want to offer too, because as I mentioned, we kind of talked about it a little bit, about toxic dynamics and things that come from childhood, and they usually manifest in our romantic relationships. So I have just opened up an Etsy shop where I sell digital downloads that help you work through any sort of toxic relationship dynamics, trauma bonding, narcissism, breakup, codependency, toxic relationship recovery. So I would appreciate if that lands with you. It would help me if you would check out my shop. Maybe purchase something if something resonates with you, or favorite it, whatever. Share it with somebody who it may resonate with. The shop is named Heartbreak Recovery Co. So we're going to go ahead and begin to wrap up, and I feel like drawing a card or two just to get a read of the energy, any spirit messages that spirit might have for us in regards to everything that has been uncovered in this session. Let's see. Wonderful Andrina. I hope I'm saying that right. Yeah, so please reach out if you want the link to the shop or to schedule that visioning process with me. Thank you, Jacqueline. Wonderful to hear that. Yeah, so I'll draw one more. Our beautiful Light Seers deck. These are all very beautiful cards, y'all. We have a card of victory here. We have a card of being like success that's validated in the public eye. So like external success, not just within yourself. You can see she's standing there in the spotlight in victory. So this is a beautiful energy. And then we have the High Priestess. You are a freaking powerful ass creator. Don't forget it. So as much as you might feel stuck or like a victim or powerless, that is one side of a coin that has two sides. So one side of the coin is victim mode, powerless, closed to possibility, full of fear, not taking action. The other side is empowerment, possibility, taking action, creating results, being, creating your own destiny, your sovereignty. So both are available. The thing is, where is your energy going to? You have the energy. Is it going into the victim side or into the responsible side? The powerless side or the empowered side? So just as much as you may feel stuck, that same amount of energy is possible and available for you to transmute into the opposite direction. So I really want you to hear that. So as powerless as you feel, it's like, oh my God, if I feel like the opposite is available for me. It's just, there's a journey of transformation to transmute that and to remember your power, and that's what this card is about. And you don't do that alone. You do that with Source. And then you've got this beautiful transformation. Of course. So it's not too late to create the life you want. This is a beautiful read for you all. Yeah. That's why I love cards. They are beautiful and perfect. So Thank you all so much for joining. Oh, thank you, Jacqueline. Yep, that is exactly right. That's my shop. If that calls to you, or if the visioning process calls, follow your heart and reach out, send me a message. And as I said, I will have my next live Sunday morning. We will be talking about Mother's Day, when you didn't have the ideal mother relationship. So join me for that. All my replays are on YouTube, even this one. And all of them, if you want the link, send me a message. It's my name, my YouTube. Thank you, Karen, Alicia. And if this was helpful for you, if you care to, you can give a donation. That also helps me to continue doing this. Thank you. Thank you, Lauren. And I'm so honored to be here with you and hold this space with you, and just know you're not alone. We're all in this journey together. And yeah, thank you to Insight Timer, of course, and to all of us here. So thank you, Andrina. Much love. See you soon, and namaste.